All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope all of you guys have had a great week so far. We're doing 3 game reactions today. The Sacramento Kings tried out their new DeMar DeRozan look against the Golden State Warriors. After that, we're going to take a look at the Spurs and the Magic, the debut of Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama together. And then at the tail end, I got a good look at the Miami Heat in their starting group in the first half against Charlotte a couple days ago. So we're going to talk about that. And then I've got 15 clips in a session of Timpf's tape at the tail end of the show as well. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss any show announcements. Don't forget about our podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. Then keep dropping mailbag questions in those YouTube comments so we can keep hitting them throughout the remainder of the season. I do want to hit the Oklahoma City Thunder, who tried their starting lineup yesterday and looked amazing, but I haven't had a chance to get to that game yet. I plan on, I recorded with Claire DeLune yesterday on the GM survey. That's going out on Friday. But on Friday morning, I plan on hitting that Thunder game as well as probably the Lakers-Bucks game from later tonight. So we'll have like a small, short preseason reaction, and then we'll also have the GM survey for tomorrow. But let's talk Golden State, Sacramento. So Sacramento ended up going with their smaller starting group, as was kind of reported around the league. Keon Ellis alongside De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt with DeMar DeRozan at the 3, Keegan Murray at the 4, and then Sabonis at the 5. I was concerned about how they'd hold up physically, both on the glass and on the defensive end. They held up really well on the glass, only gave up 4 offensive rebounds in the entire game, but their defense was a disaster. They gave up 1.2 points per half-court possession to Golden State. That's like a really, really bad number. They're constantly losing shooters all over the place, falling down, running into screens, all that kind of stuff. Golden State ended up getting 1.5 points per jump shot in the first half, and they were a lot of really good looks. So obviously a lot they got to tighten up defensively, but we knew that was going to be the case. The DeRozan fit on offense was literally perfect, as I figured it would be. It just is too much of a natural basketball fit in terms of the way his skill set kind of meshes with Sacramento's 5-out attack and the way that they like to run action going from side to side and having guys coming off of like pin downs into dribble handoffs with Sabonis coming out of the corner. It just is too much of an obvious fit. And his first bucket was a classic Chicago action out of the left corner. Draymond Green went under the screen. He hits the elbow jumper, right? Second bucket, another elbow jumper coming off of a dribble handoff into a Sabonis ball screen. His third bucket, another elbow jumper coming off of a Sabonis dribble handoff. You guys get the point. It's just his skill set just so perfectly lines up with what the Kings try to do. It's just such a seamless offensive fit. His fourth bucket was this like really tough, like Kobe-esque left shoulder fade over Kyle Anderson where he pump faked 3 times and then rose up and knocked the shot down. But his fifth bucket, once again, same kind of thing, double wide pin down. This time Sabonis was operating as a passing fulcrum from the opposite side. He comes around, guys chasing, no one's in help because there's not a big guy involved. And so since it's not a big guy involved, DeRozan curled this one, got into lane, absorbed the contact, and made a little floater. But perhaps the most important bucket that he got in the game was his sixth bucket, which was him spotting up in the right corner with De'Aaron Fox running action out of the left side of the floor, and he was able to hit a 3 in the corner. And that's going to be the important piece because I think Fox is going to be pretty comfortable spacing off of DeRozan, but DeRozan's going to have to be comfortable spacing off of Fox for this to work in the big picture. They had a 144 offensive rating with DeRozan on the floor last night. That is a awesome first outing for the Sacramento Kings. Again, they're going to have to guard a lot better to be a serious team, but they're going to score a shit ton of points, and that's a good foundation. Keegan Murray, last King I wanted to shout out from this particular game, just showed some off the dribble pop. He had this like kind of step back jump shot that he hit over Gary Payton, but there was this other move that he hit Kevon Looney with where he kind of like came down the floor in transition. Looney was a little bit on his heels, got downhill into his step back, but then out of the high hesitation in the step back, as Looney stepped out of his stance to contest the shot, he crossed back over to the right and went right around into the basket for a layup. It was a pretty high-level counter move. And so just something to keep an eye on. Keegan Murray's offensive development. We still don't know what type of player he's going to be when he's fully well-rounded. And every time I see those little flashes of that high-level offensive creation, that's just a glimpse at a potential higher ceiling for this team in the long run. On the Warriors front, Steph and Draymond both looked great. Steph looked like he didn't have Chris Dunn on him. I talked about that in the Clippers game. Like, Chris Dunn's one of the very best players in the league at guarding guards, right? And so I didn't expect him to have as much trouble as soon as he got into a different matchup. And he immediately started getting separation from Keon Ellis, who was struggling with some of the Warriors screening actions and just some of the switching and just Kings not being sharp and not staying attached. He had 13 points on 8 shots, looked like I think he was 5 for 8 from the field. Nice little bounce back outing from Steph. Draymond hit a couple of threes, did a wonderful job orchestrating the offense from the top, hit Steph on a couple of back cuts. He could easily have had 10 assists in that first half if guys were hitting shots, but just the very few jump shots that the Warriors did miss, several of them came off of Draymond Green feeds and were pretty good looks. Kevon Looney and Brandon Podziemski looked good with the starters. Looney, I talked in the mailbag in yesterday's show about how like these Warriors with too big looks with Draymond at the 4, like Trace Jackson Davis has a speed advantage. Kevon Looney has a size and strength advantage. And so it makes sense to kind of just swap them in and out based on the matchup. Looney's always had Sabonis's number in terms of being able to absorb his contact and not let him get bullied underneath the basket, force Sabonis into jump shots. That I think is the right kind of like matchup to go there. And that's what I kind of expect the Warriors to do on a night in and night out basis during the regular season. If they're going to play center next to Draymond, I think they'll probably change between those two depending on the matchup. Brandon Podziemski, 8 assists, did a wonderful job, especially in the second half when the starters went out and he's had to start running more action of beating low man help with skip passes. We're going to talk about this in Timpf's tape here at the tail end of the show. But basically, in a ball screen, a lot of teams are going to tag from the weak side, especially teams that don't trust their ball screen defense. And so the opening, the way you beat their pick and roll coverage is that skip pass. And it's just a difficult pass, and it's a pass a lot of players don't see because they kind of only see what's happening in the immediate vicinity around them. And Pod's got 3 assists on that in the third quarter, just by making the easy read that was available in ball screens. And, again, as we're watching the Warriors here at the start of the year, the addition of DeAnthony Melton and the growth of Brandon Podziemski as offensive player, these two things are going to be key for this team. DeAnthony Melton hit a pull-up 3 against drop coverage at the top of the key. He had 16 points and 3 assists. Between those two guys through 2 games, 36 points and 16 assists, with them playing obviously limited minutes in a preseason context. So very, very encouraged from those two guards. Again, those two guys are going to be one of the big swing factors for the Warriors this year, how good of a job they do creating shots when Steph needs a break or when he's off the floor, right? Jonathan Kuminga had a nice bounce back game, just quicker decisions, some nice spot up shooting. As a team, the Warriors struggled defensively, but De'Aaron Fox has always given the Warriors guards some issues. And obviously not having Andrew Wiggins in the lineup is something that's going to play a role there. He was beating DeAnthony Melton off the dribble pretty easily, though. I was hoping Melton would have held up a little better in that matchup, but some of this is like De'Aaron Fox is one of the top 25 players in the league. I had him at 24, and he's just really, really hard to guard. So sometimes you just got to kind of acknowledge the superstar problem, which is like De'Aaron Fox is just really damn good at basketball, and sometimes you've got to kind of account for that as a team rather than expecting some individual to shut him down, right? But still, really nice step forward for the Warriors offense off of that first game against the Clippers. The roller coaster of an NFL season is moving right along, and it promises to be a month full of tricks, treats, and of course, touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Running it in from the 1 or an 80-yard bomb, we don't care how they score touchdowns, we want to bet on them. DraftKings heard us and is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Super Bowl odds so far at this point in the season, the Chiefs at plus 500. Also, the Baltimore Ravens up to plus 750 as the second favorite to win the Super Bowl at this point. Here's a reason for new customers to do a touchdown dance of their own. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HOOPS. That's HOOPS. That's code HOOPS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Moving on to Spurs Magic. The Spurs as a team look super sloppy right now. Their transition defense was legitimately embarrassing last night. They got the Magic got 1.63 points per transition possession in the first half. Now, before you think too much about this, a dunk is 2 points per possession. So they were literally 80% of a dunk every single time down the floor in transition. That is like so bad. It was a layup line. No one was stopping the ball. No one was protecting the rim. Like, I would imagine Greg Popovich is very pissed off after watching the film of that. And that's something they're going to be harping on over the next couple of days. Victor Wembanyama was really sloppy. He was 4 for 15 from the field, was taking a lot of really difficult ISO jump shots. He had 4 turnovers. He tried to jam like a no-look behind the back pass in traffic that got turned over. In transition, he tried to dribble between a guy's legs and it got turned over. So just kind of a sloppy outing for Wemby. I wouldn't really look too much into it. He was kind of almost playing borderline like it was an unserious game. And so I think some of that's preseason. Some of that's just him getting into the flow. Some of it's just him trying shit that he's probably been practicing over the summer. So I wouldn't read too much into it, but obviously Wemby was a little sloppy. The spacing was really tough. Orlando was not concerned about Jeremy Sohan's ability to hit jump shots. So they just put Goga Bitadze on him and just had him sit in the basket. And so it just was like a tree standing under the rim anytime the Spurs were trying to do anything. And I think we'll probably see a lot of that this year, right? Especially since Wemby is the kind of guy that I think they're going to want, most teams are going to want to put more athletic, physical, shorter forwards that are going to try to disrupt his base. I think we're going to see a lot of Goga Bitadze type players, like bigger, just center types, just getting put on Sohan and just sitting underneath the basket. That's going to be something that the Spurs are going to have to confront schematically, keeping Sohan super active as a screener and as a cutter and as an offensive rebounder to try to punish teams for helping off of him. We did see some of the upside. We saw some sharp 5-out possessions. I got one that I'll show you guys an example of just running a simple 5-out action that gets a wide open 3 because it just gets a defender to make a mistake. Wemby ended up catching a lob from CP3 on like a cleared side ball screen on the left side of the floor. Generally speaking, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of cleared side ball screens because I just think, especially with really good players, it just gives so much space for guys to work, especially guys that are still developing as playmakers. I think it makes the most sense. There was a possession that I put in the film session too that you guys will see where Wemby got a short roll catch coming off of a ball screen where he was coming down right in the middle of the floor. And Sohan was kind of in the dunker spot. So Goga was waiting right underneath the basket and Paolo was waiting right underneath the basket, like a drop coverage. And instead of like trying to take an easy read that was available, there's a kick out to the right corner or like maybe an opportunity for a little floater, like a Jokic style, like pick and roll floater in the mid range or in the short range. He tried to like just drive into all that traffic and ended up getting blocked by Goga at the rim. And one of the things I talked about in terms of like juicing up Wemby's offense, I want to see him hunt and be more willing to take the easy looks that he can get in ball screens. And so like, I'd love to see him add like that little like 8 to 10 foot floater as he's just kind of rolling into the kind of semicircle area just to get easy little touch shots before he runs into all that traffic. It'll be easier on his body. It's a shot that he can rely on in a postseason setting. It's a easy way for him to get like an extra 3 or 4 easy shots a game that don't involve him getting into all that traffic underneath the basket, which again is going to be a huge problem with Sohan on the floor over the course of the season. So again, sloppy for the Spurs, but a lot of upside. I'm hoping they look sharper later on in the preseason. We'll see. Orlando looks super sharp on defense again. They did a great job running off of turnovers and long rebounds. I talked about their transition scoring earlier. Still not loving their lack of ball movement. This is something I talked about after their first preseason game. There was this really weird Paolo possession where Paolo gets swung the ball at the top of the key and Goga's on the left wing. He's unguarded. Franz is in the left corner. He's guarded, right? And Goga's calling for the ball and Franz is pointing to Goga for him to throw the ball. And instead of throwing the easy pass to Goga, who's standing right there, Paolo just points at him and asks him to cut. And then he looks to the other side as if he wants to run action over there. And both Goga and Franz like show this like kind of negative body language. Like, what the hell are we doing here? Because like the thing is like you run action to get an advantage. That's the whole purpose of running action. So you already have your advantage right there. There's a 2-on-1 on the weak side. Now, okay, Goga's not a shooter. I get it. Okay, swing the ball to Goga. Goga's just going to flow into a dribble handoff with Franz. He's going to screen Franz's defender. It's a 2-on-1 there. Franz is going to get downhill. It's like a guaranteed driving lane. From there, he's either going to get all the way to the rim or make a kick out pass to a shooter on the weak side. And so a lot of this is like you got to make quicker decisions, take the easy stuff that the defense is giving you. Again, this is a big thing that I'm going to be talking a lot about in these film sessions. And again, I'm going to show you guys some examples. There's one in particular from the Spurs game where it's like you run basic action that flows out of the 5-out concepts. And if a guy's open, take the opening that's there. There's a lot of possessions in a basketball game. Not everything has to be tough. Just take the easy stuff that is available for you on the offensive end of the floor. So again, we're going to be watching Orlando's offensive growth over the course of the season. Lastly, the Miami Heat. Again, I just watched their starters. I didn't have as much time. Again, I'm trying to get to as many of these as possible while also doing our season previews, and it's just time consuming. But I got to see the Miami Heat starters against Charlotte in the first half. I watched that on Tuesday or yesterday on Wednesday. And a couple of things stood out to me. First of all, Bam, aggressively shooting threes. Took 5 of them. He was 2 for 5, 6 points. That's 1.2 points per shot. So good start to the Bam jump shooting experience. The key is him taking them so frequently and with so much confidence that he eventually gets guarded out there. This is like my Kyle Kuzma theory. The Lakers, when Kyle Kuzma was with the Lakers, used to take a ton of threes, and he always shot in like the low 30s, like 31, 32% until that last year before he left. And like, it just didn't matter because he was so aggressive and his release looked good that like teams generally guarded Kuzma as though he was a good shooter. And then also like because he took so many of them so confidently, there were games, usually about once a week, where he'd go 4 for 7 from 3, and it could be a huge impact on a game. And so again, that's the key with Bam is just take him. If he takes 5 a game, hell, I would take 6 or 7 a game. If he takes 6 or 7 a game and he makes 2 or 3 of them and he just sticks with it over the long term, it will eventually reflect in 1, him getting better at it, more comfortable, but 2, in defense is starting to account for it and to guard him there. Once Bam starts actually getting guarded from the 3-point line, then the positive trickle-down effects of him shooting extend far beyond points per shot and extend into now your overall half-court offense improves because you have better spacing and like better opportunity for Jimmy to attack or Jovic to attack with advantages out of the post. And so that's why I kind of like the idea of Bam taking more of those. I almost think he has to in order to build this out. If you want to have a Bam Adebayo, Kel'el Ware look. And by the way, I only watched the starters in this particular game, so I haven't had a chance to check out Kel'el Ware. We will get to him at some point soon here. But like, let's say Kel'el Ware flashes as like a legitimate 5-man option. Well, if you want to play Bam next to him and have a big look, it's going to require Bam being an aggressive and guarded 3-point shooter. And so that's something that I think is worth building out. Jimmy Butler looked healthy. He looked spry. He looked like Jimmy Butler. I thought that was encouraging coming off of the knee injury. Everything that Terry Rozier does and that fit with this team, it's going to come down to him hitting jump shots. He was 0 for 6 last night or 2 nights ago in that game. Last year, he was 1.03 points per jump shot, which is just not good enough. He hit his open catch and shoot threes at a high percentage, but shot poorly on pull-ups and shot poorly on contested shots. And those specifically are the shots that have the potential to raise the ceiling for this Heat team. That's why they're so important. The Heat defense picked up right where it left off last year. They allowed just 0.86 points per half-court possession in the first half. Again, they were top 5 defense last year. That was one of the most encouraging parts of them as like a foundation to build on. It was a sharp first outing. I haven't had a chance to look at the bench groups, so we'll talk about them later on in the preseason or early in the regular season. But I had some time on Tuesday and I watched that, and I just wanted to get that into today's show while we had some time. Side note, on the Hornets front, I cannot get enough of watching Tre Mann play basketball. Another 7 for 12 from the field, 14 points, 4 assists, no turnovers, plus 10 in 19 minutes. Has this like weird mix of like early 2000s guard with like some like a little bit of Jamal Crawford, a little bit of Allen Iverson. It's so much fun to watch. And I wonder if he's got some 6th man of the year juice this year, something to keep an eye on. All right. On that note, let's get to Timpf's tape before we get out of here. By the way, sorry I'm moving a little quickly today. I've got a little bit of a deadline. I had to get this episode in a little bit earlier, so I wasn't able to get into as much detail. But we are going to do some more preseason reaction tomorrow. All right. Let's take a look at our film session. So first clip. How do you beat switching without having to ISO? Simple things to understand, like screening angles. So again, first of all, you got to identify what scheme you're playing against. Miami likes to do a ton of switching. Boom, switch, easy switch. You know that switching is the scheme that they're in. So there's no point and setting a hard lateral screen on Terry Rozier because he's not trying to get separation from Rozier. It's just going to be a switch, right? So you actually need to screen with the intent of getting an advantage out of it. Watch how Miles Bridges comes and screens the bottom side of Terry Rozier because he knows all he's really doing when he sets this screen is triggering the switch. That's all he's doing. He's not trying to get separation for LaMelo. He's triggering the switch. Watch as he turns and spins as he sets the screen to create a seal. Boom. See, all he's actually trying to do is get the switch while having inside position. Now he has inside position. So as soon as LaMelo Ball pulls Jimmy Butler out a little bit, now LaMelo can throw this over the top pass to Miles, creates enough of a passing angle for him to get in there. And now Miles Bridges, he ends up finishing, but he could also make a kick out pass here as well. Again, these are ways that you can look to get easy shots out of switches. And here's the thing. You run those kinds of actions, maybe they don't give up an interior seal, maybe you don't get the easy one, and then you have to attack a matchup. But again, as one of the big themes that I'm always talking about on this show is like, hunt the easy stuff first. And then when the easy stuff doesn't work, counter it by going to the tougher shot making, the tougher ISO ball, the tougher post-up looks, things along those lines. But take the easy shots that are available to you. This next one is a just for fun. Everyone watch Trey Mann and just the ridiculous bag of tricks that he has off of the dribble here. Gonna skip pass into a little dribble handoff, ball screen. Watch this dribble combination. Just disgusting. Doesn't that just kind of harken back to about 20 years ago and what we used to see the guards around the league do? All right, clip number 3. This is an example of, once again, a basic like a secondary break action that the Spurs run, and they get a wide open 3 out of it. So this is what I would just call like delay Chicago, basically. So delay action is when you bring the ball up the floor and you pass to the big man at the top of the key and you flow into action on the opposite end of the floor. This is a Chicago action, which is a pin down into a dribble handoff, right? So we're getting the pin down into the DHO, right? So all this is not any sort of super complicated 5-out concept. This isn't some sort of dramatic, schematic genius. All it is running a basic action when you get up the floor to see if Orlando will make a mistake. And if they don't, then you might have to get more deliberate about your execution. In this case, as they run the Chicago action, swing back to Wemby. Wemby dribbles into it. Notice Goga is the guy guarding Sohan. He's going under everything. Because he's going under everything, Sohan's able to kind of turn the corner a little bit. This pulls the defender from the right wing down to the elbow. That's an overhelp, right? So that's the mistake, which gets a wide open 3 for Julian Champagnie, right? So again, you get an open look by running a basic action, which triggers a mistake. Now, what should have happened here for Orlando, as we know, is this is an overhelp. Sohan's going to be driving. Goga's meeting him on the other side. You're not worried about him taking a jump shot. It's an overhelp, right? But the only way you're going to get the overhelp is if you run the action. You have to run the action to get the defense to potentially make a mistake. Again, if it's not open, if he doesn't dig down as hard, he throws the pass to Champagnie. Champagnie DHOs to Chris Paul. Chris Paul comes off, and Wemby flows into another ball screen, and you work it until they make a mistake. That's the whole concept of 5-out flow. Side to side, until each time you go side to side, the help defense loosens up a little bit because guys aren't getting back to their spots. They get a little bit sloppier in their shell drill. That is the purpose behind running action, to see if you can get the defense to make a mistake. In the full episode, I talked about the short roll catch for Wemby that he kind of turned into a really tough shot. So this is that one. First of all, as you can see from a spacing concept, because they have Goga on Sohan, and because Sohan's not a threat to shoot, there's just constantly extra traffic here around the basket. Here we have Paolo in a drop coverage coming off. This is where I want to see Wemby again, like look to take some easier shots in this range. Instead, look where he catches. He's got some space here. This could even be just a short little pick and pop jump shot. But instead, we have literally 4 Orlando Magic players with a foot in the paint, and Wemby just tries to cram his way in there, and Goga gets a block. And so again, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, just little details like, okay, Here's an easy read. Franz is digging down. Just make the kick out pass to Harrison Barnes. Let's take an easy corner three when we get it. Or if Franz stays home and Paolo's deeper in a drop, or Chris gives him the pass later, a little floater in this range. Or just catch and take a jump shot right there. Just catch and take a little easy jump shot right there. Take the easy shots and the easy reads that are available in ball screens. This is just trying to do a little too much, tries to cram it into that space and gets blocked. Keep an eye on that Sohan spacing concept here at the beginning part of the season, though. All right, here's our cleared side ball screen that gets Wemby the dunk. Okay, so again, because of the cleared side, there's just a little bit more space for Chris to operate. As a result, he's able to get down here into this short corner area. That allows him to engage Mo Wagner a little bit more. And then this is Wemby's superpower. Wemby kind of Wagner kind of stunts, but notice Chris Paul throws a pump fake. Then Mo Wagner tries to recover back to Wemby, but he's just so damn tall, he just goes right over the top of him and dunks on him. Little bit of a dirty play there from Mo Wagner too, trying to back out a guy who's jumping on a dunk attempt. But we'll go ahead and glaze over that for a second. Alrighty. Here's an example of the pick and pop and how that can create easy openings. So as I talk about all the time, drop coverage has an easy counter, which is the pick and pop. So as Chris Paul is coming off, he's engaging Wagner in a drop, right? So that puts two on the ball. Now, if Wemby's rolling, it's easier for Wagner to kind of account for both of them. But because he's not, now we have this closeout for Wagner all the way from here, right? As a result, they end up rotating with Franz. That actually is not Franz. I can't tell who that is at this exact second. But I think that's their rookie, the rookie from Colorado, if I remember correctly. They both close out. They get two on the ball, right? So now we have two on the ball with Wemby, which creates a 2-on-1 here between the shooter in the corner and Malachi Branham right underneath the basket. Cole Anthony has to make up his mind. He ends up being caught in no man's land, and Wemby beats it with a no-look pass. So again, this 2-on-1 here is created by the weak side rotation right here. This guy closing out to Wemby. That happens because on the pick and pop, Wagner is not in position to rotate. This is such an easy action to create initial advantage that then you can play off. And you can imagine a scenario like if this guy closes out hard and this guy stays home, there's a kick out pass over here to the corner. Let's say they rotate, like Cole Anthony rotates up and the Magic rotate over from the weak side. Now you've got an opportunity to flow into action off this left side of the floor. Maybe Chris Paul pins down for Stephon Castle. There's just an initial advantage that you can turn into a read by running that pick and pop action. Here's that play I talked about earlier where the Magic had kind of funky, stagnant offense, and Goga and Franz looked a little frustrated with Paolo. So again, here we go. Wemby throws a random double team off of Jalen Suggs. This creates an advantage situation. Now Paolo's at the top of the key. Here's our situation. We've got four Spurs all on the right side of the floor. We got Goga by himself and Franz in the corner. Paolo's literally looking at him. Goga, is literally calling for the basketball. Franz is gesturing in that direction. Again, all you have to do there is swing to Goga. Goga flows into a DHL. Franz is going to get downhill into this area and probably pull all of these Spurs into help. And one of these dudes is going to be wide open. But instead, Paolo looks him off and goes the other way to where Wemby is going to be able to get a great contest on Suggs anyway. Watch Goga. Watch his body language. He's like, what are we doing here? And then watch Franz. What are we doing here? And again, like they're frustrated because it's like, what are we running action for? We're running action so we can get an advantage. We got one on the left side of the floor. Move the damn basketball. Make a quick decision. Flow into the next action if you have to. And again, it probably works its way back. Like the thing with Paolo here is like, you can imagine a scenario. You throw that pass right here. You might throw that pass and Stephon Castle might close out a Goga. And then you might end up just getting right back to a wide open catch and shoot three for Paolo at the top of the key. Just like take the easy reads that are available to you and just play off of it. All right, let's take a look at some of these DeRozan plays with the Kings. Here's a basic Chicago action out of the left corner. So here we go. Again, pin down into a DHO. Draymond Green is on the ball. It goes under. Easy little read for DeRozan at the elbow to knock down the jump shot. Next one, same sort of thing. Dribble handoff into a ball screen. Looney switches, but he switches soft, so DeRozan is comfortable just rising up into his spot, knocking it down. There's another one. Pin down into a dribble handoff. Switch again. Looney's more aggressive on the switch this time, which actually forces DeRozan to pick up. Again, and I talk about how you run action to get guys to make mistakes, right? First mistake, Draymond Green goes underneath both picks against DeRozan, who's just an elite shooter from that range, right? Second pick, Kevon Looney too soft on his switch, right? Third pick, Looney's harder on the switch, takes away that first read, but DeRozan just gets to his spot off of a little one dribble pull-up. Again, tougher shot, but now he's in rhythm. And again, what I was saying earlier is like, these are all shots that are kind of like the kinds of shots that the Kings can generate within their offense. And DeRozan's great at them. So it's kind of just like a natural fit for him to be running these types of actions. And I think this is the weak side spacing. Okay, so again, as I talked about, it's important for, as De'Aaron's running action, for DeRozan to be able to make plays on the opposite side. So, because you're going to see this a lot. When De'Aaron Fox is running action, you're going to see DeRozan's defender drop down into the paint and help because they're not as worried about him as a catch and shoot guy. Kuminga closes off the drive, kick out pass, it gets deflected, so it kind of disrupts the rhythm. But this is the shot that DeRozan's going to have to make teams pay for helping off that weak side. Hit his first one last night. Here's that Keegan Murray crossover that I was telling you about that was so disgusting. Watch him get the head of steam. He's got Looney. Hard dribble at his left, step back. That high hesitation right here. When he does that step back dribble, right here, he could rise into a jump shot, which is what gets Looney to step out of it. And then Keegan just crosses him over and gets a wide open layup. Really advanced counter move there from Keegan Murray. All right, here are the three examples of Brandon Podziemski beating low man help. So we're going to get an action here. A little ball screen with Trayce Jackson-Davis. Comes off the ball screen. Look at here. Here's our low man, Jalen McDaniels. Watch this rifle pass from Pods right into the shooting pocket. Boom. Knocks it down. And again, that's the read. Like, as you're looking at this play develop, nothing else is open. They're set up at the on-ball defender is behind Podziemski, which is going to make it harder for him to make a shot. Alex Len is in no roller behind coverage, so it's not like the lob is going to be open. Jalen McDaniels is packing the paint. There's an easy read right there for you on a skip pass to Moody. Same sort of thing here. Get our ball screen with Trayce. Crossover to set his man up for the screen. Little details too. Look, notice how Pods turns his body looking like he's driving to the right. Everything's pointed to the right. Shoulders to the right. Ball's in his right hand. Everything is facing towards the right. That gets the on-ball defender to jump high side, which then Podziemski crosses over, which creates the passing angle, or excuse me, the screening angle for Trayce to get a good screen. Pods gets downhill. This is our low man. Because Alex Len is fully committed to the ball, now his job is to come over and help. He does. There's our kick out pass to Kuminga. A nice patient read from Brandon Podziemski. I liked how confident Kuminga looked taking catch and shoot threes last night too. I thought that was encouraging. All right, last one. Pods flown into action. Ball screen, chasing over the top. Rollers kind of getting behind Len. Low man help. Low man is all the way into the paint. Pods throws the skip pass. Moody knocks it down. That's the kind of playmaking that you need to be able to run that action. Look at Pods. Talk your shit, man. Look at him talking that shit. Let's go back. Pods knows it because he's picking them apart. He's been doing it the entire third quarter. This is all in the first 5 minutes of the quarter. Look at him. He's like talking his shit. Good for him. That's good. That's impressive playmaking. That's the kind of shit that they're going to need from him in order to get to where they want to go this year. All right, guys. Nice, quick, tight little 33 minutes today. That's probably the shortest we've gotten in a long time. But again, I was under a little bit of a time crunch today. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting the show. We'll hit Thunder tomorrow as well as Lakers Bucks. And then I've got, I think, like almost an hour of GM survey stuff. We're hitting we're hitting like the all defense or the best defensive players in the league stuff with Draymond and Anthony Davis getting kind of left out. Where who we think is going to win MVP this year? The who's the best player in the league debate between Jokic and Luka Doncic. Talked a little bit about why I think Jason Tatum is the best small forward in the NBA, and then we talked a little bit about the CBA and some of the limitations on team building. So that'll be coming out on Friday as well. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting the show. I will see you tomorrow.